Next up, another bait that we make here at South Fork is our 3.5-inch swimming Ned rig, which is my personal favorite lure for any kind of bass, smallmouth especially in the river. I have a house up by Hocking Hills, up in the Nelsonville area, and I fish the Hocking River quite a bit, and this is my personal favorite bait. If you guys want to check them out, we're booth 415, South Fork Baits, come by after this. But before we start, same rig. We're not going to change the weight or anything like that. We're just going to go ahead. Put that guy on there. All right. So the Ned rig, especially the Swimmin Ned right here, is another great choice for finesse fishing. You got your wacky worm, your normal Ned rig, and now we also have the swimming Ned rig, which is good if you want a little bit more action. The Ned rig is all about finesse. It's all about not too much motion in the water. It's just a little, turd looking bait. It doesn't really do anything, but this has this little boot tail that's just gonna give it that little extra kick down in the water. So I'll see if you guys can see it down here. We'll send it down. Fish are all over it, as you can see, but there you go. You can see that tail moving a little bit, and that will just extra entice those fish. That little bit of extra motion can definitely help, especially, if the water isn't super hot or super cold. It's good to throw something that has a little bit of action on it and not just that, basic 2.75-inch, 3-inch Ned rig. And what we're going to do is just cast this guy out, and especially with the Ned rig, especially when it's hot in the summer, you want to let it sink to the bottom. A lot of fish, especially the big ones, in the summertime, want to stay down to the bottom. It's where it's the coldest, and they don't want to do a lot of movement. Now, the thing with the Ned rig, it's all about how you work it, and I like to work it extremely slow. So we'll go ahead and cast this out and let it hit the bottom. You'll kind of be able to get a feel for when you hit the bottom, if you feel rocks or mud or sediment or anything like that. And fish won't leave this thing alone, but just kind of let it sit on the bottom and just small little pops like that. I don't want to be jerking it too far off the bottom, really ripping it up. I just like to kind of pound the rocks a little bit. Make some noise down there, make some vibrations down there, because if you have a fish looking at this bait and you just go ahead and rip it up real quick, you could scare them away, spook them away. You just want to do nice and slow. Let that thing sit down there, just kind of pound it on those rocks. And these tank fish are loving this thing so far. But also, like I said earlier, this is my favorite bait for smallmouth. It's very versatile. You can use this for largemouth in the summer, in the fall, during the spawn, fish at any time of year. But this bait, in my opinion, really shines on the rivers, especially the Hocking River, which is the main river that I fish. I've caught quite a bit of smallmouth on this exact lure right here, this Swimmin Ned. And pretty much the way you're going to want to work the lure in the river is pretty much the same. There's nothing much going to change about it except the way that you cast. When you're fishing from a boat or a kayak or a dock or wherever, it's usually cast out, reel the bait in, whatever. But when you're fishing the river, it's especially important to use the current to your advantage. Now, what I mean by that is, let's say I'm standing on the river bank right here and the water is moving this way. I'm not going to want to cast it just straight out because it's going to pull my lure over here and I'm missing out this entire chunk of water. Now, if I'm standing on the riverbank and I cast upstream this way, my bait is going to go all the way here and it's going to drift all the way over here. So I'm pretty much getting the entire, place I'm fishing, covering the most amount of water as I can in a diagonal line as I reel in my lure, as I retrieve that bait, and the current just does most of the work, drifting it across that current and putting it right in front of the fish. Now, last thing I want to talk about is the best places to look for river smallmouth. Now, river smallmouth are everywhere, especially in the Hocking, but one of the best places, start in no particular order. Number one is down logs. Every fish likes to hide in down logs. If you see a log, especially if it's out of the current, which is number two, the best spot to look for smallmouth in the river, is little breaks in the current and also heavy current. They like to sit in the breaks of the current to ambush prey as they come through, or they like to sit right at the start or the end of that ripple. Little minnows will come tumbling down those rocks and they can just come in, an easy meal. Now number 3 is deep pockets, especially when it's really, really hot outside, like I talked about earlier with the wacky worm. It's hot, fish don't really want to move, they want to get down deep, stay cold, not overheat, and very, very important. And the start and the end of the ripple, like I said before, is very, very good, especially if you can find a deep pocket right at the end or start of that ripple. And our last one is going to be drop-offs. So if you have a part of the river that's 3, 4, 5 feet deep, and then it drops down to about 7, right on that slope right there, smallmouth are going to line up, hide from that prey, and you can run your bait right along the top of the slope if you want, right in the middle, along the bottom. You can cast it anywhere. There's always going to be fish hiding there. So that'll go ahead and do it for our lure presentation. Like I said, my name is Brandon. I'm the owner of South Fork Baits. All of these baits are hand poured one at a time by myself. If you want to check us out, if you have any questions, you want to talk fishing with me, we're at booth 415 right over there. Thank you guys so much for coming today and enjoy the expo.